Have you ever wondered what came first? The chicken or the egg? Well, in my story, it all started with the eggs. I took some from my mom's chickens and decided to raise them myself in an incubator. I've always dreamed of having my own chicken family, even since I moved to homestead. There is something so satisfying about knowing that the eggs in your fridge come from your own chickens and are all natural. It's one more step toward living a more natural life, and I couldn't be more excited to share this journey with you. Getting a chicken from an egg is not easy feat. It takes a whopping 21 days. And for me, it's a big challenge because I've never done it before. But hey, there is a first time for everything, right? During this time, I'll have to make sure the eggs are taken care of just like their mother would. I'll have to create the perfect conditions to keep them warm and comfortable. Luckily, I've got an incubator to help me out, which will maintain the necessary conditions all by itself. I have found this great incubator that takes care of all of the important details. My mom used to do everything by hand and it was a lot of work. But thanks to this amazing machine, I don't have to worry about forgetting to turn the eggs or keeping the temperature and humidity just right. Interestingly, the instruction for the incubator said to wash the eggs. But my mom suggested not washing them to save the nature defense. As I watched the eggs inside the incubator, I couldn't help but be fascinated by the process of development happening inside them. In the first few days, the cells inside the egg began to divide rapidly. By day 6, a tiny heart was already beating inside each egg. And then everything went dark. All I could do was guess at the magic happening inside the egg. I knew that the embryos were growing and changing, but it was impossible to see exactly what was happening. By day 7, it was time to check all the eggs and see which ones had developed a life inside. It was a crucial step in the process, but it was also nerve-wracking. I carefully examined each egg, trying to spot any signs of life. But as I went through the first half of the eggs, I was surprised to find that none of them looked like they need to be thrown away. They all looked healthy and full of promise, so I made a decision then and there to keep them all and just see how many would hatch. As the day of hatching approached, I realized that I needed to figure out where the chicks would live for the first months, until they were strong enough to be outside. The only option was to clear out the room that we were using as a warehouse. But just as I started cleaning up the room, the light suddenly went out. After checking the news, I found out that the power outage was due to a massive missile striking my country. Without electricity, the incubator wouldn't be able to maintain the necessary temperature and humidity for the eggs to hatch. I was so relieved that I had a battery and a generator to keep the electricity running in my homestead. I can't even imagine what I would have done without it. Then I kept going and cleaned up my storage room. I got rid of all the clutter, and after that, I also made sure to disinfect everything to create a clean and healthy environment for my chicks. And finally, after 18 days in the incubator, it's time to remove the rollers that turn the eggs and replace them with a grid for the chicks to hatch on. And this day finally arrived. I knew the chicks were supposed to hatch on the 21st day, but I didn't expect to come in the morning and hear the loud peeps. When I looked into the incubator, I couldn't believe my eyes. We finally met with them. I had planned ahead and found an old box to use as a brooder and bought all the necessary supplies for like diaper for the first time, an infrared lamp, drinker, feeder and food. I disinfected everything to make sure it was safe for the chicks. However, in the morning, I realized that I wasn't fully prepared. So I quickly got everything ready by making the diapers, boiling water, and crushing the food to make it easier for the newborn chicks to eat. I made sure to give my chickens a healthy and balanced diet that included all the necessary vitamins, as well as boiled eggs for an extra protein boost. To keep them hydrated, I added a little honey to their water. I strongly believe in providing my chickens with natural and healthy food, and I never give them any hormones or antibiotics. It's truly fascinating to observe newly hatched chicks. They're wet, clumsy, and appear so vulnerable. Following the instructions for the incubator, I made sure not to open it frequently, as sudden changes in temperature and humidity can cause harm to the chickens that are still developing inside their eggs. Therefore, I refrained from taking them out unnecessarily, and instead I watched them closely through the incubator windows. Wow! I never thought I'd be so nervous while waiting for the chicks to hatch. I felt like I had a huge responsibility and was afraid of accidentally harming them. But at the same time, I was worried that the chicks might not be able to hatch without my help. One of them even managed to peck a hole in its shell, but then struggled for over 12 hours without being able to fully hatch. I couldn't bear to see it suffer anymore, so I decided to lend a hand. I was thrilled to wake up the next morning and find that the little chick had successfully hatched and was already running around the incubator. It was such a heartwarming moment that made all the worry and stress totally worth it. It's amazing how much joy and fulfillment can come from being part of the process of bringing new life into the world. Sadly, not all of the chicks could be monitored closely, and one of them was born weak and accidentally put its head down in the water and started choking. Luckily, I noticed it in time and quickly took it out of the incubator. The poor thing was struggling to breathe, but I did everything I could to help it. I was really worried about this little yellow fluff ball, but thankfully everything turned out okay in the end. Now it's hard to tell that it was ever weak at all. The little chick is running around the brooder just like all the other healthy ones. It's amazing how resilient these little creatures can be. It's already been 23 days since the eggs were laid, and as I began checking them, I quickly realized that almost all of them were frozen and had no living chicks inside. It was heartbreaking to see so many failed attempts at new life. I looked in the situation and discovered that the temperature in the incubator was most likely lower than it needed to be. It was a tough lesson to learn. When I checked the eggs, I was disappointed to find that only 2 had started to pierce, and both of them seemed weak. However, having had a positive experience before, I decided to help both of them. I am happy to report that all the chicks are now active and healthy. It's hard to believe that just a short while ago they were struggling to survive. It's amazing to see how resilient they are and how much they've grown already. So on the 5th day, I finally moved the brooder into the room I had set up for the chicks. Once it warms up, these cute little chicks will be able to roam around on the grass all day long and only come back to their room to sleep at night. By the way, I'm already in the process of building a chicken coop for them.